Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut. He serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee that is conducting one of the congressional probes into Russia's election meddling. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning.
Okay, so you just heard Manu's exclusive reporting for CNN there. Do you think that the Russians are politically strategic and savvy enough to know that they should have targeted some of their ads to Michigan and Wisconsin? Or, from your investigation, do you believe somehow the campaign helped them figure that out?
This very important report by CNN reflects the severity and scope of Russian meddling, distortion, and manipulation of public opinion that certainly use the most sophisticated methods of micro-targeting, aiming at audiences that would be receptive to these highly polarized ads aimed to influence the outcome of the election. Whether they had assistance from the Trump campaign is the big question. They had to have some kind of highly sophisticated and technical advice, and even if they had their own sources of that information, they may have been cooperating with the Trump campaign.
But
that's the focus of these investigations.
Just one question. Did they need to have highly technical advice to know that Michigan and Wisconsin are swing states?
They had to have reaffirmation of the targeting information available to them. Yes, they had to target specific audiences to know whether or not they'd be receptive to these ads and whether they would be resent. Some of the ads I've seen are highly incendiary and designed to appeal to particular audiences that were also targeted by the Trump campaign.
Senator, today the chairmen, Burr and Warner, of the Senate Intel Committee, not your committee, but another committee obviously investigating all of this, is holding a press conference at noon. What do they have that's so important that they're holding a special press conference?
Well, I'll be listening very closely
but they haven't
to
shared
what they
with
have
you
to
that
say.
they have any news that they're breaking today at noon.
I can't preview the news that they are breaking. I have some idea about what it may be, but let me just say these combined investigations are proceeding independently, the intelligence committees, independently of the Judiciary Committee, and most important, the special counsel is investigating possible criminal violations. And that issue is raised by these Facebook ads because they reflect a combined effort, possible collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians, and obstruction of justice under the investigation by the special counsel.
Are they going to, do you think, draw that connection today at this news conference? How big of a bombshell will this be?
The connection between the Trump campaign possibly and the Russian meddling in our election is now a matter of investigation for the special counsel as well as the Judiciary Committee. I can't tell you what kind of new perspective they're going to offer on it, but here's what we're seeing is a broadening and widening of the special counsel investigation into possible financial dealings that may reflect on these Facebook ads, although the amount of money spent was relatively small. The special counsel obviously is following the money, and there are a variety of different threads in this overall fabric that are relevant. They may be disclosed today in that press conference.
Okay. We'll be watching very closely for that at noon. Meanwhile, I have to ask you about what happened in Las Vegas and this massacre. We've now learned that 12 of the guns that this shooter had were jerry-rigged with this device. It's called a slide stock or a bump stock. It can be bought online quite easily, something like $100, and it turns a regular high-powered rifle into an automatic weapon, which of course are illegal and banned. Senator, how can that be? How can that device be legal to buy online?
It should not be, and we've advocated for some years that it ought to be barred from sale because it is used to convert semi-automatic assault weapons into automatic weapons, and the result is the kind of carnage that was seen in Las Vegas. We are renewing the effort to ban them. We are also going to be proposing legislation to ban the semi-automatic assault weapons, which are weapons of war to kill and maim human beings. I am introducing shortly, along with a number of my colleagues, a ban on the high-capacity magazines carrying numbers of clips, 60 to 100 that similarly can be used in these
Yes.
instances of mass slaughter.
But those two things, those two pieces that you just said that you'll be introducing, those seem like harder sells. Those have been tried before, and you know, I mean, look, the history is littered with the failed attempts in Congress to pass any sort of gun violence control. So how about this one? I mean, this one just seems like the easiest thing in the world to just ban that device. Could you propose, first of all, who's stopping that? Who's fighting you on banning that device and making that illegal?
The gun lobby has steadfastly and resolutely opposed any and all measures to stop gun violence. And I think it is losing its vice-like grip on the Congress. In the last election, referendum in 3 out of the 4 states that were proposed to stop gun violence actually passed. 3 senators advocated sensible, common sense measures. They were elected, both Democrats and Republicans. These measures work, as is shown by Connecticut, where gun crimes have been reduced by 40% as a result of tough restrictions. So I think we've reached a tipping point, Allison. I think we have moved the needle on public opinion registering with Congress. And my hope is that a number of my colleagues who've said, you know, the bump stops at the very least ought to be banned, will support this kind of common sense measure and background checks.
Do you think the president would support, let's just start easy, do you think that the president would support the bump stock being banned?
My hope is that the president will go to Las Vegas and really demonstrate leadership and courage, that he will offer his condolences and his prayers. That is profoundly important. But prayers and condolences are not enough. And I hope the president will endorse a ban on bump stocks or sliding fire mechanisms, as they're known, that convert these semi-automatic assault weapons into the kind of massive killers that resulted in the carnage in Las Vegas.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, thank you very much for all the information today.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, a late-night comic